Flory Models daily vlog. Here we are on the 28th of September 2015. Yes, 15. I know, I've got it wrong before. Okay, for me, to be honest, I've done nothing down here. I know, very slacking. To be honest, it's a bit like when you're at school, teacher training day. I've been doing other things on computer, video editing and stuff like that. Basically, it's going to talk about this a little bit in a future show about how I do my editing. But basically, I use Sony Vegas Pro. It's an extremely expensive, very expensive, extremely capable video editing software suite. And I use it extremely basically. I do what I have to do. It has my video feeds all on the screen at once, and I literally just click between each one you want to see. Really, that's about all I can do. But I was looking around on the internet over the weekend and last week and things like that, and there's so much more I can do with it. And I think it will improve the way you guys interact, the way you see things, some of the camera angles. So what I've ended up doing today is adjusting some of the camera angles to see. So to be honest, I have a camera with you guys. You're my sort of primary camera. Then we have normally 3 above. Okay, what I'm going to do is actually going to take the one which I hardly ever use. You'll never really see it in editing, mainly perhaps a little bit a while ago, but I used to have one over on this side that sort of comes in. We have our overhead, which obviously you can see here. Then we have the one that sort of comes down on this side, so you can see it here. Okay, and then normally we'd have another one on the other side where you would see it, and you would go along like that. But what I've actually been doing with is playing with moving this camera around, because as I said, it's recording all the time, it's taking up a massive amount of data and all the rest of it, and quite frankly I just don't use it. So what I've been doing is playing with it in different areas to see where it gets the most use. Now I was thinking a little bit about it. It just seems to be you've got all these cameras and just using them, because I used to use the GoPro as well in a wide angle format, and we sort of dumped that one because the quality wasn't brilliant. But we've got these cameras and it is just working out which one works best. Is it worth running 4 cameras? Is it better to go with 2 cameras and just have an overall one, one down and everything else like that? So what I'm doing is just playing with different camera angles and seeing how effective they are, because you know, you look online and everyone does that standard one right in front and down. I hate that camera angle because from a building point of view it's extremely hard, and I can understand where guys have trouble with limited space and where they can actually put the cameras. Well, I don't have that issue, as you know. We've got massive amounts of room here, so literally we can put cameras anywhere we like. But the trouble is, the one you have right in front of you looks down. Technically it's always on the wrong side, because when you're showing anything, normally, as you can see, the one above here is the primary one to use, but sometimes the old bonce gets in the way and covers it and everything else like that. So I spent the day basically playing around with camera angles, playing with some of the settings, learning different things with the software and the editing and all those different things like that, and really just sort of getting to a grips with it, and just trying to improve the overalls, improving the audio. At the moment we have an overhead audio system, moving that slightly around and getting the balances right to make sure everything's central, and all those different areas like that. And some days it's quite nice for me to say, you know, almost take a day off from filming to go back and have a look at it, set down, have a play with the settings, and you know, and hopefully it comes over a bit better to you. But in the meantime, quick question that popped up and I've been asked a lot about is, obviously I'm using, wherever it all is, 2-pack paint. So when you're talking about 2-pack paint, it's technically a lacquer based paint. It's an automotive paint. When it's a 2-pack paint, all that means is you have to use an activator with it. Yeah, I don't. That's the whole point, okay? Now, normally what happens is when you're using it, the paint just doesn't dry. Well, it does dry, but it takes forever. But I think that's more about when you're doing an automotive and you're spraying a car with this stuff. It's very thick, goes down very heavy. It would take forever to dry. But don't forget, we're scaling this down, and we're scaling down the thickness of the paint as well. So when this goes down, although it hasn't got the activator in this one, it's still drying because it's a very thin layer and it goes off. But, and this is where some of you have spoken to me about it and you're not getting the same results. If you put this stuff down too thick, it will take forever to dry. So, in the example, hold on, make sure it doesn't drip everywhere. This is what we're saying about hot paints. If you didn't see it before, it melts through the bottom of your cup. Okay, so just be a little bit careful about that. Otherwise, you're going to end up with a situation like this, okay, where it melted right the way through. All right, but in here, I've got paints that are probably various ages, and you might be able to see down in these, they look a little bit glistening. This is because they're not getting much air, but you can see this guy here has dried, okay, and it's totally crispy dry and all the rest of it. Here on the top, is what I had left over. I'm not going to get that out, it's welded in, but you might notice it's a little bit shiny. Okay, now that is still wet. I can actually see it maneuvering in there and rolling around. This has got no activator in, and this is the very same lacquer that's on here. Okay, but hopefully, fingers crossed, this is dry. Okay, again, it's very, very thin layers and you're building it up. What I don't highly recommend though, definitely, is to grab hold of this with bare hands, because you will put a fingerprint in this and it is going to take time to go off. Okay, so just remember that. If you do want to put an activator in, the only trouble that you have with it is when it's in your airbrush and you're coming along, this is empty, what tends to happen, because again we're on a micro scale, the activator starts to set around the needle and it suddenly starts to slow down, and you're, instead of having a nice big wet coats going down, they suddenly become dry because you've got a lot of air, not a lot of material coming out, in this case lacquer, so you end up with dry surface and you've gone from a deep, lustful, hopefully you can see here, beautifully shiny coats and everything else like that, and all of a sudden you're in a situation where it looks matte. Okay, and that is the trouble. What you could do, and something that I've tried in the past, to be honest I'm happy how this is going, but what you can do, take your paint, take your lacquer, okay, whichever one you want to use, then just add a tiny little bit of activator in there. Don't go overboard with the activator and stick gallons in there. Normally it's a 2-to-1 ratio, but technically what I would actually do is like a 90% paint or 90% lacquer, thin it as you're absolutely happy with until you've basically got the consistency you're happy with. Recently we've been talking about it, you'll see it again on today's show when we talk about this one, about the thickness of the paint, a lot thicker than normal. Then add a drop or two, depending on how big a colour cup you've got going, of the activator. That's enough to get the process going and get it setting and all the rest of it, and then we'll hopefully give you enough to make the paint go off over time, not as quick as perhaps on an automotive basis, but generally it will just speed things up. The thing with the activator, what that actually does is prevent running, but basically it speeds up drying time, so it is handleable. Within 24 hours you could paint a car and it's no problem at all. You put it in an oven at running at, I don't know, 20 whatever it is, 25 30 degrees Celsius, it bakes on hard, goes rock hard within an hour or two. That's the difference. But from a micro scale, and here we are in scale modeling, because we're using thinner coats, thinner layers, things like that, we can do all this type of thing on here and got some great effect. Now this really is, hopefully you can see it, literally like glass on the back here. You catch it perfectly in the light like that. Really happy how that came out, and that, to be honest, was my nemesis, this tail, trying to get that right, because would it go, would it help, okay, and all the rest of it. In today's part, which is part 3, which is up on the site now, we will talk about this and we will talk about actually going through the motions. Part 4 is going to talk all about the glossing, because then we've got the decals down, and that'll be next Monday's part, and we'll go right the way through it. This is going to be done tomorrow. To be honest, what I'm waiting for to finish this one off is those old white gloves, you know, the sort of antique gloves and all the rest of it, pure cotton gloves, because handling this, as I learned with the bike, you get fingerprints absolutely everywhere, and the rubber gloves only do so much. I'm thinking some of those white cotton gloves will be absolutely fantastic for putting this together, no fingerprints on it, and away you go. But generally, or hopefully, you can see even on, you know, something as complex as down in here, you haven't got the runs and all the rest of it. But what you're trying to do is put down a thick enough coat so it's nice, it can self-level without running. Don't worry about it running too much if you've got a nice thick paint, because you shouldn't have any problem with that. But anyway, part 3 of this is up on the site now. You can go right the way through that one, and it's going to talk about, obviously, the processes we've gone through like this. Just before really we get on there, we talk about using the old bendy tape. This is Tamiya's pinstriping tape, curvy tape, to do all of the around here. We talk about colour matching the yellow on this one. We talk about how I make the palette, I think I mentioned it on Friday, and all the things like that, and go right the way through. So hopefully it will give you a little bit of insight of actually mixing up your colours and everything else. But this is basically sat here. Tomorrow I'm going to crack on with it and actually get it together. I should be able to get it finished off tomorrow and look lovely, and then you can catch up within the following weeks, and then we can pop on, because I don't know if you can see it quite in shot, but we have got, I do have to thank AK for this. AK have sent us 1 or 2 bottles, including, I've got to show you these absolutely gorgeous colours, if I can find them in here. There's one, where's the other one? I've got a couple of colours. Oh, come on. Show me the colours. Always the way. Metallic smoke, that's always a good one. There we go, metallic blue. Which colour is this one? This is it. Give these a quick shake. AK have been absolutely fantastic, as we know, to all our members, and they've sent us some absolutely fantastic. I am going to talk about this at length, and I'm really going to bore you to death, but I just do have to show you these two. Hopefully you can see them. These are absolutely stunning, these new blue colours. And I tell you what, I wish I had this colour when I did that truck, because it would have been a lot better than using well, shall we say, another brand, which I had lots of trouble with. But these are absolutely fantastic. So we've actually got here, this is the stainless steel, which has got a blue. Actually, there is that other one. I don't know where the colour it is. Is it this one? No, it's copper. But we've got another one. It's like a purpley colour somewhere. Where is it? Come on, guns, gold, brown. But they have sent us, can't see it now, a couple of these new ones. These are absolutely fantastic. You see this beautiful blue, it's the metallic blue. I thought it was a purple or something we have floating around here, but they have sent us lots of stuff. They've also sent us a couple which we're going to be giving away as prizes. They're fantastic. You can see down here of their book, which talks all about obviously metal processing, different tools, tips and tricks you can use. It's not just the AK stuff, obviously it's mainly focusing on that, but there is other bits in here, different ways. Talks about decanting, which we've spoken about recently as well, and everything else like that. But you can see some fantastic stuff. So we're going to be looking at those probably later on in the week when we come back to do our metallizers and everything else like that. So there we go, that's it for this week. Hope I've learned something through the editing and all the rest of it. Certainly gloss work and everything down pack, and obviously we've got that review coming up in a few weeks. And as I say, we've got all of these great AK stuff which we're going to be using in the F104, which I'll be working on Wednesday. So there we go, that's it from me, and I'll catch you all tomorrow.